Hi! So today's book is a book that J.K. Rowling baited me to buy it, and stay tuned to find out what book that is. Hi again, welcome to my channel. I'm Sam's Reviews and I give reviews on books that I've read, my opinions, my ideas, and yeah, just encouraging you to read more books. Alright, so today's book is I Captured the Castle by Dodie Smith. Now, like I said, I was baited by J.K. Rowling because I was just looking around for books and then I saw J.K. Rowling's name on a cover of a book and I was like, okay, as a Potterhead, that's a major alarm sound going on in your head. So I really went fast and picked it up. And turns out that it was just J.K. Rowling giving her feedback on the cover, but it was the best mistake that I have ever made. Okay, so as usual, I give you an idea about the writer, the context, the content, and then my ideas and feedback on the book. Let's start with the writer, Dodie Smith. Dodie Smith was born in 1896 and passed away in 1990. She was born in England, but when she was growing up, her father passed away. And that made her family, as in her mother and her, since she was an only child, move back with her family. Her family consisted of different family members. They all had a knack for theater, and Smith was very influenced by this. If you go through her biography, you will find that at the age of 10, she wrote her first play, and she even took some roles in theater. As she grew up, she actually entered a school for drama and arts, and she did manage to get a role very soon. But she didn't have a very successful acting career because she was kind of short, so she didn't have a lot of presence on stage. And also she wasn't very attractive to the point that they will let her in. So after 2 months or so, she was let go of. But that didn't stop her from writing, as she also wrote a lot of plays that are famous and known till nowadays. And she even wrote a play under the pseudonym C.L. Anthony in the 30s, but then later on she was exposed and everybody gave her the recognition she deserves. Also, when she got married to Alec Beasley, they moved to America because her husband was a conscientious soldier, meaning he did not want to participate in the actions and events of the war, so they moved to USA. But that created some sort of homesickness for her, and thus I Captured the Castle was born. So in 1948, Dodie Smith wrote I Captured the Castle, which has a lot of English vibes going on and a lot of nostalgia going on. Now we'll go into the content of the novel. So usually I go through the context of the novel, but this time there is no need for the context because the events of the novel happen in the 30s and they don't really reflect anything going on in the novel. So really the context is not that important. So let's go to the content. So the events of the novel happen in the 1930s. It's not really clear, but we know it's that time period. And it talks about a family, the Mormains, which consists of Cassandra, Rose, their little brother Thomas, Topaz, their stepmother, their father James, and Stephen, who happens to be living with them because somebody who used to work at the Mormains left her child there and they took care of him. And he is the major supporter of the family, giving them his wages and salary. What's special about this family is that they live in a castle James the father fell in love with when they were young, but now, let's say 10 years or so after the events of getting the castle, and also the successful writer of Jacob Wrestling, which is a novel he wrote, James the father, and made him the genius that he is. However, what happens during these 10 years, the mother passes away, they buy the castle, but also James, the writer, is having a really serious writer's block. Not only does the family have to deal with this writer's block and his conundrums and all, but they also have to survive because they are in a very bad state of poverty. Basically, they sold everything they have in the house, and like I said, Stephen is the only provider for this family. Now let's go back to the protagonist, who is Cassandra. Now Cassandra is 17 years old. She is the middle child, and she starts telling us the story, the events of the novel, through her journals. And from here comes the most iconic starting phrases of literature, which is, I write this sitting in the kitchen sink. Now this is a very iconic phrase, and you'll understand how beautiful it is after you read the story. Alright, so the events are divided according to 3 periods, so 3 journals, 3 parts. telling us different stories of what's going to happen in the novel. Now let's go back to Rose. So Rose is the eldest. She's 22 years old, and she's had enough of her poverty and the situation they are in, and she wishes to marry whoever comes as long as he has money. So one day she wishes upon a gargoyle coming up from the wall of the house to be rescued from this atrocious situation they are in. And behold, sometime later, enter the two brothers Cotton. As soon as we are introduced, we see differences, of course, through the passages of Cassandra, who admits that one of them has a slight American but more British accent, while the other is purely American. And those brothers are Neil and Simon. Now Simon is the British, Neil is the American. And they are half-brothers because their mother is both their mother, so therefore the fathers are different. And Neil is coming with Simon because Simon inherited the land beside the Mortmains. And he actually owns the castle they live in. And I'm just going to leave the story there, and I'm not going to spoil any further. And I'm just going to let you explore what happens with the Mortmains, with the Cottons, and everything that's going to go between them. But I assure you that there is a surprise that you will not expect at all. And the only way to know what surprise that is, you've got to read the book. Alright, now to another favorite part of mine is when I watch the movie and I compare the books and the movies. Well, I don't really compare, but let's just say that I like to see them in front of me as well. But of course, I always read the book, then watch the movie. Now, the movie was released in 2003, and it starred a lot of great British actors and actors that we know of today. Romola Garai, Rose Byrne, Tara Fitzgerald, and Superman, Henry Cavill. And I've watched this movie like yesterday, so by the time my video is released, it's not going to be yesterday, but in my timeline it's yesterday, just to remember again, refresh my memory. And the movie was just beautiful. I mean, if you haven't read the book, that would be enough, I would say, because the movie does justice wonderfully to the book. Of course, it's not going to be the same, because they have to condense events, but they got as close as they can to the characters, to the lines, and also to the events. And it was like really reading the book all over again. So it is really recommended for you to watch the movie. Not only is it entertaining and it really sticks to the story, but it's beautiful to watch as well. To see all of these actors and actresses at their young age and see them right now at their like big success, it's wonderful as well. So yeah, that's basically my review on I Captured the Castle. I mean, the book for me, when I first read it, it was like, let's say, 3 years ago. But since that day, I have kept Cassandra in my heart, and that line of, I write this as I sit in the kitchen sink. It's really beautiful, and let me tell you that when you read the book, you will fall in love with the characters through Cassandra's narration, and of course Dodie Smith's ability to write such beautiful passages and descriptions. There are a lot of analysis of human relationships. Maybe in an interview in the 70s I heard her say that she was very sensitive, and maybe that sensitivity made her very observing of all the things that go around her and made her able to describe human relationships and human relations so beautifully and so well. Yeah, I Captured the Castle is really a very beautiful journey about love, sexuality, lust, self-discovery, self-exploration, going from teenagerhood to adulthood. It's such a good journey, and you don't really feel it as something forced upon you so that it's a coming-of-age novel. No, it's like, it's so natural and organic, and it's so beautiful. And in case if Dodie Smith seemed like a familiar name before, here's another fun fact about her. Do you know Cruella de Vil? Well, of course you do, because Disney made a big movie about Cruella de Vil in the 101 Dalmatians. Well, hear this. Dodie Smith is the writer behind the 101 Dalmatians, and she wrote the novel after one of her friends said, their fur would be a wonderful coat. So there's that. Okay, thank you so much for sticking around. This was my review and opinions and ideas about I Captured the Castle by Dodie Smith. Like I said, it's a wonderful book, very heartwarming to read and also to watch. So watch and read the book, and see you in another book review.